In this first case study, we're going to explore how clothing changed in the 1950s as a result of innovations from Marks & Spencer's. Innovations that are today taken for granted, but at the time changed the way people dressed and looked. We've made use of the M&S Company archive here at the University of Leeds to research this case study, as well as employing the help of a number of M&S textile technologists. You've already been introduced to some of the concepts regarding innovation, such as incremental and radical innovation, and that innovation is a process of application and implementation of ideas. This case study builds on these concepts, but also introduces the idea that innovation has a social aspect, the idea that innovation is a result of interactions between people. We'll also see how organisations can create a culture that promotes and encourages innovation. But first, let's take a step back in time to see what the average shopper in the 1950s was looking for when buying clothes. And here we have Gloria to explain more.
What a lovely morning. Just right for shopping. These look lovely. Orlon. What beautiful colours and styles. And of course there's St. Michael. There's always something new at Marks & Spencer. So soft. Fully fashioned, only 35 and 11. It's just the thing for me to wear at the party. Orlon is so fashionable. You feel right. Well dressed. Yes, I must get this. Those chunkies in Orlon are only 57 and 6. That's wonderful value. And sweaters, too. Orlon's so luxurious, warm yet light as air. They keep their shape however much you wear them. The whites are pure white, it stays white. All the lovely colours stay fresh and bright. Orlon's so easy to wash. A gentle swish and a thorough rinse, dry flat and don't iron. It can't shrink, comes up like new.
Before M&S made use of technologies such as Orlon, clothing was generally made of natural fibres, such as wool and cotton. Compared to modern clothing, the performance of these fibres in the 1950s was poor. Let me introduce Mervyn Davis, a former M&S technologist, to explain a little more.
Well, in the 50s and 60s particularly, the main fibres were natural fibres, were cotton and wool. There were a few what you might refer to as man-made fibres, like rayon and nylon, but the main fibres used were natural fibres. And they all had their own problems. Cotton particularly, of shrinkage, wool of washability. You could only at that time really only hand wash it. So those were the limitations of those natural fibres, which gave the opening and the thirst for some of the newer fibres that were coming onto the scene. So it was an extremely exciting time to think, wow, we've got jumpers now that we can machine wash, whereas before, when it was only wool, hand washing is all we could actually do to launder the product, and then not very well. With cotton, the main problem would have been shrinkage. That was always the issue with cotton, particularly knitted cotton. But wool was always this issue of washability, very, very difficult to handle.
So the clothes available to Gloria in the 1950s were difficult to wash, and you had to be very careful to avoid shrinkage and colour loss. But as Mervyn hinted, this was an exciting time for new innovations in textiles, and was a time when M&S made great use of its strong and unique relationship with its supply chain. Here is Mervyn again explaining a bit more about the supply chain and how M&S worked with its suppliers to innovate new products.
Although everybody would know probably their supplier and their customer, they wouldn't necessarily know their customer's customer or their supplier's supplier. They would only know their adjacent processor. It was only the guy at M&S that could actually pull those 15, 18 parties together in one room. Sometimes it has happened that we've been able to get, from right around the world, all these people to come and sit round a table all together. M&S actually acts as a catalyst with all the various players in this big innovation focus. And it's very much a two-way street, this relationship, that we could go back to our supply chain as well as the supply chain coming to us and saying, look what we've discovered. Is there a way that you can use it? We could also go back to them and say, look, we have an issue, or we've got something that we really think we could do with, or our customers could do with, can you help us provide that? So that it really was a two-way street, and we all knew that we all benefited from it, because at the end of the day, if the customer benefits from it, we all do.
So we see M&S acting as a catalyst or a focus point for innovation throughout the supply chain. M&S used a social network of suppliers to innovate new products and processes. And as we saw with Gloria, the innovations being developed in the 1950s were all about meeting the consumer's desires for more colour, easy to care garments and comfort.